Right. Where were we? Hi, everybody. Wait. Oh, I should look at names. I should see who's here. There's Hank. There's Bill. There's John. How did you end up being Hank, not Harry? Not you, John. I know how. Yeah, you're neither. It was something I was wondering. Hank sent me an email the other day, and it's got his real name on it, which I'm not going to share with you. He can share it with you if he wants to. But I was wondering how he ended up being Hank, not Harry. There's Eugene, there's Donna, there's Vern. Hey, Vern, it's been a few days. How's it going? There's Brian, there's Matthew, there's Andrew. There's a bunch of people here. Thank you guys all for being here. Did I say Bill? There's Bill. Hey, there's Deborah. Hey, Deborah. I don't know who MN Searcher is, but hey to you as well. Okay. You want to do a thing? Let's do a thing. It'll be fun. I think it'll be fun. Web Bixby's in the house. Good. Web is here. We can start now. We would have started without Web, but Web's here. Right. Oh no, I forgot to write an opening line. Okay, I'll just do this one. Hold on. Watching Apple TV or not. It is Friday, the 4th of December, 2020, and this is macOS Ken Live. Coming to you from this side of Christmas. Hi, I'm Ken Ray, welcoming you into this edition of macOS Ken Live. Now, we get together every Monday through Friday afternoon, 3:30 Pacific, 6:30 Eastern, and talk about, some fun Apple topics. Well, some fun tech topics, usually tied to Apple, although I will tell you, second half of today's show, not so much. I mean, it'll be fun, I think. Not tied to Apple, though. We'll follow up on some of the stuff that we heard about yesterday from HBO. Kind of wondered how they had made the deal that they made with the exhibitors, aka the movie theaters. Turns out they didn't. And that's got some people unhappy. So we'll talk about that in the second half of the show. Also got a little bit of feedback from the Evil Robot Phone Call Chronicles. First half of the show, though, let's talk about Apple TV Plus. So this is what's weird. I don't know whether I woke up thinking about Apple TV Plus or if I just started reading stuff early and now I think I woke up thinking about Apple TV Plus. I believe, though, that in thinking about today's show, I was thinking about it before I read some articles. And so maybe I went out and find what I wanted to find, or maybe that's just where the zeitgeist is today. Where do you keep your zeitgeist, by the way? Today on Apple TV Plus, saw the premiere of Earth at Night in color, saw the premiere of the kids series Stillwater. It's hard to call it a premiere, but a Charlie Brown Christmas started streaming today on Apple TV Plus, and of course, Mariah Carey's magical Christmas special, which I haven't watched yet. And it's funny because now that I finally can watch it, I'm not sure if I'm going to this weekend. I think I probably will. I think I'm gonna. I am prepared to turn it off within 10 minutes. I'm excited about the excitement around that show more than I'm excited about that show. I think Snoop Dogg is going to be Santa Claus. I haven't watched it yet, but I think Snoop Dogg is going to be Santa Claus. And that both makes me want to watch it more and less. I don't know. Anyway, those 4 shows launched today. Do you remember how many flagship shows Apple TV Plus launched with? It was 4. Now, these aren't flagship shows, but it launched with 4 flagship shows. I can't remember if Ghost Rider was already on. I know Helpsters was on the first day that it came on. But it launched with 4 signature shows, 4 flagship shows. Can I remember what they are? The Morning Show, See, For All Mankind, and the other one. So there we go. I think it might have launched with a movie or 2 as well, and then it launched with the kids series. And I don't know if you remember, but it was a failure. It was a disaster. It was terrible. It was awful. How could they do this? It cost you something like like a buck 50 per show compared to 1.5 cents for every show that was on Netflix, or 0.15 cents maybe. Apple TV Plus was horrible and it was never going to go anywhere, said some people. I will tell you honestly that I argued at the time that it almost couldn't fail in a way, and that didn't mean that the content was gonna be any good, but here's the thing, Apple doesn't need Apple TV Plus to succeed. Now, it adds, obviously, but Netflix needs Netflix to succeed because what Netflix does is Netflix. Apple TV Plus doesn't need to succeed for Apple because what Apple does is Apple TV Plus and Apple Music and iCloud storage and Apple News Plus. And oh, yeah, they have an iPhone, I think, and they have the Mac and they have wearables and they have like so many cylinders you can't even count them. It's like a V12 or a V16. How many V's could they possibly have? I don't know. Apple TV Plus didn't have to succeed, which kind of makes it impossible for it to fail, I think. I don't know. I go back and forth on a bunch of stuff. Those 4 shows launched today. Granted, again, one of them is A Charlie Brown Christmas, and so it's been out for a long time. But those other 3 shows are new to Apple TV Plus, and they are new to Apple TV Plus today. Also today, Apple announced a show about which I do not care. The World Surf League docuseries. This is from Apple's press release. Apple TV Plus has ordered a new 6-part documentary series from Box to Box Films and the World Surf League that will provide a behind-the-scenes look at the aspirations, failures, and accomplishments of the world's best surfers as they battle for the WSL title and struggle to remain on the elite WSL Championship Tour. And if you're a surfer like me, I don't care. I don't care about that. But they announced that. That is a new show that they announced today. Yesterday, they announced Gutsy Women, which is the docuseries based on the book written by Hillary Rodham Clinton and Chelsea Clinton. They are also going to be hosting, and then there are going to be other women of note who are going to be on that show. Do I care about that? I'm willing to hear the reviews. I'm kind of curious, not overly so. And it's not because of the content. It's because I found myself getting a bit snide about their docuseries, and then I realized I haven't watched any of them yet because I don't care about Dad. I mean, the series Dad. I don't care about Home, and I don't. I can't remember what the other docuseries are. Oh, the Oprah Conversations thing. It's fine. It's fine. It's not for me. That's okay. We'll get to that in a moment. Wednesday, they announced the half-hour bilingual comedy series Acapulco, starring Eugenio Derbez. They announced that this week. And Tuesday, they announced that Gugu Mbatha-Raw is going to star in the Apple TV Plus series Surface, which is some sort of psychological thriller or something, about which we know nothing so far. 4 shows launched today. 4 other shows announced this week. And probably a fifth of them are for me. And maybe that was people's complaints in the beginning too. Not just the fact that there wasn't that much content, but there was so much stuff on it they didn't care about. And it's easy to say there's so much you don't care about when there are only 5 or 6 shows and you only care about 1 or 2 of them. That means like 66% of it's not for you. Who cares? CBS has both Mom and NCIS. I don't actually watch either of those shows. I'm more interested in Mom than I am in, hey, Mom and Dad. I'm more interested in Mom than I am in NCIS, but because they have one show that I don't care about and another show that I do, that doesn't mean it's a failure. Because they have one show that I care about and another one that I don't, doesn't mean it's a success because they're, 24 hours of content. I don't know. There were a couple of things I came across today that just make it such an interesting story to me. Mac Daily News had John Ballard for The Motley Fool saying, over the last year, Apple has launched 47 originals spanning comedy, drama, action, documentaries, and shows for kids. And some of those films and shows are already drawing high praise from the cognoscenti. Earlier this year, Apple Originals received a grand total of 18 Primetime Emmy Awards, a record for the most nominations of any streaming service within the first year of launch. Apple TV Plus has an important role to play in growing the value of Apple services business. Evercore ISI analyst Amit Daryanani believes all Apple services, including News Plus, Arcade, and the App Store, could bring in more than $100 billion per year in revenue by fiscal 2024. It's hard to know, though, when you're going to, like, what part of that do you separate out? At $5 a month, how big a deal is Apple TV Plus for that? I'm honestly more interested in the social aspect, social impact in a way. And I find myself thinking again about the thing that Tim Cook said when he had introduced Apple TV Plus. Great stories can change the world, is what Tim Cook said. You kind of have to ask yourself, great to whom? NCIS may be an incredibly important show on CBS for some people. Maybe it tells them that there is a thing that they can go out and do. Whether that is, man, this show got on TV, I could write a TV show. Or maybe they think they could do something in law enforcement, or maybe they think they could do something in the Navy. I don't know. Maybe they think I could act. Who knows? Same thing goes for Mom. I know that Mom deals with some addiction issues, recovery issues, things like that. That might be a very important thing. Again, somebody might be able to be inspired, to write their own story or stories. I was hard on Apple TV Plus at first, I'll be honest. And every now and then they come out with a series, and I'm like, where's the great stories can change the world part? But here's the thing, not every story speaks to everyone. I am a year out of mission log now, so I feel fairly safe saying I don't like, well, I'm not going to say it. I don't like some of the Star Trek series, but I like some of the Star Trek series, right? Every story is not for everyone. It doesn't mean that every story isn't great to someone. And, there's some stuff that's obviously, I shouldn't even say that. I was going to say there's some stuff that's obviously crap, but that's still just me coming from where I am saying that does not appeal to me. I don't know. It's time, I think, to stop talking about Apple TV Plus as a thing. 47 shows. 47. I can name 10, I think. I could probably name more than that if I try really hard, but then it's just you sitting there watching me or listening to me go, oh, yeah, and then there's that one with the guy. I think it was silly to think that it was going to fail because Apple has so much money to put behind it, and they were obviously into it. They moved into Hollywood. They bought buildings. They hired those guys from Sony, Zach Van Amberg, and the other one. See, it's like I'm trying to name a TV show, except it's a guy and a bunch of writers, and then they've got that studio that they're starting over in London as well. I mean, they're in this for the long haul. I don't even know how to talk about Apple TV Plus anymore. I think at this point, and I kind of wish, oh, if only I had another 4 hours a day. I kind of wish that I could do a show that's just about the business of Apple TV Plus, like an ongoing show, because it's going to be that big a business at some point. You could do the same thing for Netflix, except I don't know that Netflix has the same cultural relevance because I don't think that was Netflix's jam. I don't think that's what they were trying to do initially. I mean, the one thing to say Tim Cook did, he made Apple TV more important by standing up there and saying great stories can change the world and saying that that's what they wanted Apple TV Plus to do. I'm not saying it's better than Netflix because of that, because if Netflix never added anything else ever again, you would never run out of stuff to watch on Netflix. I mean, it's got quantity, and some of that is quality. I just watched The Trial of the Chicago 7. I think I talked about that earlier this week, the fact that I was watching it. I might have talked about that afterwards during the chat session over in the chat room. I just watched that this week on Netflix. I wish Apple had made that. If that had been in a movie theater, I would have gone and seen it. Well, and we were allowed to go to movie theaters, or we felt safe going to movie theaters. I'd have gone and seen it and not felt shortchanged at all. Incredibly well acted, incredibly well written, incredibly well shot. That came from Netflix. The same people who bring you A Christmas Prince 3 or whatever. Yeah. Anyway, I don't think that actually had a through line, except to say maybe it's time to stop talking about Apple TV Plus as one story. It's getting big enough now. It would be like talking about CBS as one story. CBS, which brings you, well, I mean, they bring you 60 Minutes, they bring you the Super Bowl, they bring you NCIS, they bring you Mom, they bring you Showtime. I mean, they're so multifaceted at this point. It's almost like this time next year, talking about Apple TV Plus as one thing might be as silly as talking about Apple as one thing. It's also interesting too, having to get your head around the fact that this thing that started with like 6 shows isn't for you all the time, but that's okay. I mean, there are iPhones that come out that aren't for you, and nobody says, "Well, they failed because that's not for me." There are Macs that come out that aren't for you, and I think we finally stopped saying, "Well, that Mac's not for me, so Apple is going the wrong way." I love talking about TV. I probably spend more time talking about and writing about TV than I actually, watch. But I did spend decades watching it more than I wrote or talked about it, so I got that going for me. Then coming up in a second, we'll talk about the HBO and, Warner Brothers, HBO Max, movie theater thing that we talked a bit about yesterday. Just kind of a follow-up on that. Before we get to that, though, I wanna thank you all for leaving ratings on the different things that I do. I'm not asking you to do that now. This is genuinely me thanking you. I got the first written review for macOS Ken Live in 9 years earlier today. Hector iPhone 10, I believe, who I don't think comes to the live show, I guess must just be listening to the audio podcast, uh, said um, said some very nice things. I don't have it in front of me, but thanks, Hector. I appreciate that. I've seen a couple of the ratings go up on a couple of the shows that I do, and I can't tell you how grateful I am. So, no call to action today. I'm not asking you to do anything. Simply thanking you because it makes it feel less like talking to myself. Right. Let's talk really quickly about the HBO stuff. So, Warner Brothers announced yesterday that the 17 movies that it has coming out next year, 17 movies that it had. Apple announced 4 series this week. Warner Brothers has 17 movies coming out next year. I don't understand that. I would have assumed that Warner Brothers would have 50. I apparently have an old studio idea of how movies are just cranked out. Like there should be Three Amigos movies next year, right? Those nutty Amigos. The Amigos Take Manhattan. Shouldn't that be? Warner Brothers announced yesterday that all 17 of the movies that it comes out with next year will premiere day of, both in theaters and on HBO Max, which we talked here yesterday about the theater going experience and how crappy it is outside of LA. I feel certain that the head of AMC Theaters, Adam Aaron, would not be happy to hear that, but maybe he should go to a movie outside of LA sometime. And I'm not saying he never has, but I've been to some crappy AMC theaters. I don't mind telling you, and if you were watching, I wouldn't mind telling him. He's not happy about the HBO thing, though. Clearly, Warner Media intends to sacrifice a considerable portion of the profitability of its movie studio division and that of its production partners and filmmakers to subsidize its HBO Max startup, Aaron said yesterday to The Hollywood Reporter. As for AMC, we will do all in our power to ensure that Warner does not do so at our expense. We will aggressively pursue economic terms that preserve our business. I wish I knew what those economic terms were. My assumption was that it was not a one-for-one deal. I assumed that there was some money, and I know that because I wanna say maybe it was Disney who had to pay some of the exhibitors for putting Mulan on Disney Plus. There was one earlier this year where some major studio was putting stuff onto streaming services, and they had to cut in. Excuse me, they had to cut the some of the theater chains in for the money that they would lose. I wish I knew what their deal was. My assumption was that it was all predicated on ticket sales because I know the way that it works is first week or 2 weeks, the movie theater gets almost nothing as far as the ticket sales are concerned. Most of that money goes to the studio, but they make their money on popcorn and soda and things like that. And it's probably a fairly even trade, or if not even, it's at least a better deal for them because that first week, even if they're only making, and this is a made up number, this is an absolutely made up number, so don't take it to the bank. Even if they're only making 5 cents on a ticket or even $1 on a ticket, if they're selling out theaters, that's more people buying popcorn and Coke, which does not cost nearly as much for them to produce as they charge the consumer. And then the longer a theater is in the theater, excuse me, the longer the movie is in the theater, the percentage of ticket sales that they get goes up. But of course, the number of tickets goes down, and there aren't as many people buying popcorn and soda. I'm not saying it's a complete equilibrium because obviously it's not, but that tends to be one of the ways, at least, that it works for the exhibitors. Now, I don't know what kind of deal Warner Brothers would have to have with AMC outside of that, ticket concession yin yang thing, right? But apparently they have to have one because AMC is all like, well, we're coming after them for what's ours. What's yours? I'm not going to your theater because I don't want to get sick. No offense. It's not you. It's me. I just don't want to die to see Mortal Kombat, the movie. Well, or Mortal Kombat for that matter. Now, as far as the money is concerned, there's a guy that I keep talking about that I honestly, if you have any interest in entertainment at all, I highly recommend that you follow him on Twitter. He has a small following on Twitter, relatively speaking. He's got more people than I do, obviously, but he's not 250,000 or anything like that. And I don't understand why, because I think the guy is movie magic. His name is Zach Stentz. He's written on a bunch of stuff that I can't think of right now. Thor is the only one that I can remember, although I know he's written on a lot of other things. And I want to say he's actually got a series on Netflix right now. He might be part of that Jurassic World kids series, the cartoon. I haven't watched it. I should. Anyway, he posted something on Twitter yesterday that I thought was amazing. Look at Netflix's market cap, $220 billion. And then look at AT&T's market cap, $208 billion. And AT&T includes an entire phone company, he points out. Look at those two, he says, if you want to understand why Warner is willing to sacrifice a year of box office to make HBO Max a viable streaming service. I want to go back to Apple TV Plus for a second. Mac Daily News, in their assessment of the state of Apple TV Plus today, said that Apple TV Plus is not going to be $4.99 forever. Why not? Apple does not have to charge more than $4.99 for it to be worth it to Apple because it's still a thing that they can sell with iPhones. It's still a thing that they can sell with every smart TV that's out there now, almost every smart TV anyway. They're on Roku. HBO is not. HBO Max is not. Excuse me. I don't see any reason that their price has to go up. And I think that they would actually be fine saying $5 a month because $5 a month, while not nothing, is not anything that's going to break the bank. If they can get you to sign up for that for $5 a month, they can probably count on your $5 a month for as long as you're paying money to anything because it's $5 a month and it's recurring revenue. I go back to the 99-cent song. The 99-cent song in iTunes, I think, was a wonderful price point. And maybe we were always under the impression that Apple moved off that because the labels beat them up so much. It's also possible that Apple was finally starting to look towards streaming music. I don't understand why Apple didn't do streaming music in 2005, except maybe because it would have upset the label so much, or maybe their return on selling music was more at that point. I think it was a mistake when they moved off the 99-cent price point because 99 cents is only 99 cents. And $1.29 is more than $1. I think it could be $5.99 forever. And I think Apple would be fine with that because That's $4.99, excuse me, because that $4.99 is $4.99 they know they're gonna get, from now on. Speaking really quickly of Roku, HBO Max is not on it, and the head of HBO was the head of HBO? No. Ah, sorry. Andy Forcell, Executive Vice President and General Manager of Warner Media's direct-to-consumer products, said in an interview Thursday that they're gonna get on Roku. They don't know how, and they say it has nothing to do with the new thing that they did, but they say they're gonna get on Roku. I would honestly bet that the stuff they announced yesterday. No, changed my mind. No bet. I was gonna say I'll bet that makes it more difficult for them to make a deal with Roku because Roku now has a clearer idea of exactly how important HBO Max is to AT&T and to Warner Brothers and to all of them at the same time. Um, they can use their broadcast might. They can use the AT&T bills that are sent to you. They can use any number of avenues that AT&T, Time Warner, CBS, all those guys have, or Warner Brothers, excuse me, CBS, all of them have. They can use all of that. I shouldn't have put CBS in there. I'm sorry. I'm confusing now, like the three topics that we've had. My point is they have a lot of ways to wave people off of Roku and onto Apple TV Plus or onto the Amazon Fire Stick or to the Google Play or wherever you actually can get HBO Max. My guess is that the deal that they announced yesterday kicks everything up a notch, but it doesn't necessarily make anything any easier for anybody. As if I know. Right, let's do a little bit of feedback and then we'll get out of here for the weekend. I hope you have good plans for the weekend. I also hope they involve not going anywhere or doing anything and washing your hands and wearing a mask. Right, this is from the Evil Robot Hotline. The FTC has warned against robocalls pretending to be Apple or Amazon, saying either there's a problem with your iCloud account or there's a problem with a purchase you made, or hey, this doesn't look like a purchase you made. You better push one and talk to one of our helpful support people. It's all a scam. You know it's all a scam. I know you know it's all a scam. You need to tell everybody you know it's a scam. I was at the grocery store a few months ago, and the cashier, the checker dude, was telling somebody a story about how he had just gotten scammed out of $200 because somebody called him and told him that they could see that there was a problem with his computer. Somebody called him, a phone number from like nothing called him and said they could see that there was a problem with his computer. And they asked him something that they knew would be on his computer and told him to look there and see if he saw this. And he said, yes. And they said, oh, well, that proves it. And then they walked him through letting them into his computer, which then they locked and would not let go of until he gave him $200. And he told that story publicly. Man, if that happened to me, I could never tell that story. I live in fear of stuff like that happening. Yeah, dude just got scammed. That's why I'm telling you about this, because you're smart enough to know that this is a scam. Tell people who aren't, please. Because Kevin wrote to me and said, I got about 4 calls from a robot calling itself Olivia about my iCloud account being disabled. There was one voicemail and I misread the area code. It was one number off from one that he thought he should actually call back. So he actually called it back. And luckily, though, the number was being blocked. I know at least a couple of them were identified by AT&T as spam risk. Of course, they also identify my local Mac experience as spam risk too. So, yay. I'm glad it worked well for Kevin. And do me a favor, tell everybody you know about those things. Because Apple's not going to call you if there's a problem with your iCloud account. And Amazon is not going to call you if there's a problem with your Amazon account. And I think you know all the stuff that you should do, but if you don't, go listen to the checklist brought to you by Secure Mac because we talk about this stuff all week. And I'm not going to bore you with it here. Yeah, I think it's going to do it for us for today. Normally, I tell you what tomorrow is, but tomorrow's Saturday. Here's what I want you to do. Go outside and play, at a safe distance with your mask and wash your hands. Don't play with your mask. I mean, macOS Ken kicks off again on Monday. In a few minutes, kicks off again on Monday. We will do macOS Ken live again Monday, 3:30 Pacific, 6:30 Eastern. Please have a wonderful weekend, and I'll talk to you soon. Trying something new. I'm just going to make weird eyebrow things at you instead of sticking out my tongue when it's over. Ba, ba, ba. Where is everybody? How is everybody? AMC is based in Kansas City. I'm starting down at the bottom and working my way back up, apparently. And that's not a Kansas City joke, Web. That is we're at the bottom of the chat, and I should actually go back up to the top first. How do my glasses get so dirty? You can't enter that. That's fine. Hey, Charles Goucher is here. Oh, on his last 3% of power. I'm guessing Charles was here. Oh. Oh, okay. Hank answered my question. You're right. Do you remember, Hank said that Harry is not any shorter than his actual name. Have you seen, what is that movie? Midnight Run. They're at a place called Red's Bar, and they're talking to the bartender, and Charles Grodin is like, "Are you Red?" And the guy's like, "Yes," but he's got brown hair. He's like, "Do you dye your hair?" "No." "Why do they call you Red?" "Oh, it's short for Redwood. My last name is Wood." Harry would not be any shorter. You're right, Hank. And those extra half seconds you've saved all this time. I want my nickname to be Ace. No shorter than Ken, though. Really can't make a nickname shorter than Ken. John wants to know if there are any rumors about the new set-top unit on the way. I don't know if you heard today's macOS Ken, John. Apparently, there's a halfway decent chance that there is some kind of new hardware coming next week. Apple has informed people in their inner workings about a new Apple Care Plus and new SKUs. We don't know what it's for, though, and it might not even happen. That's the thing, because it's a rumor. But maybe. I don't know what that is, Matthew. Matthew says, I think today is the last no-fee Bandcamp of the year for musicians. I guess all your money you pay to buy a CD, vinyl, cassette, download on their Bandcamp page goes to your favorite musician or band. Oh, so you mean that Bandcamp isn't taking a cut? That's pretty cool. Wow. Sorry, that was rude. It was accidental. Andrew says, other than Ted Lasso, I've mostly passed on the various Apple TV Plus since last year's original releases. I keep wanting to watch Boys State, but I haven't gotten to it yet. I was a big fan of Mythic Quest Raven's Banquet, but if you don't like cursing, you won't like that show. I was a huge fan of the morning show, but that was one of the first round things. I keep meaning to go back and watch Trying, because I find that curious as well, but I haven't yet. Frank Petrie wants Apple to pick up the James Bond premiere. It's not a bad idea. Servant was interesting, according to Frank. Andrew says it was too creepy for him. Yeah, it was too dark for me. I watched the first 4 or 5 episodes, and I was like, it just ended with me feeling uncomfortable every week. It wasn't like, I wonder what's going to happen next week. It was more like, God, I wonder what's going to happen next week. That's interesting. Charles said, Earth at night in color looks good, but his brain refuses to regard the visuals as real. We'll see how well the series overcomes that. Yeah, I'm kind of curious about that one too. What was the other one? Small Things, Small World. You know the one I'm talking about? The one that showed, like, ants and stuff, and it was narrated by Ant-Man, by Paul Rudd. I meant to go and watch that one, I didn't. Do, do, do. Still haven't watched Amazing Stories. Yeah, I watched the first Amazing Stories, Adam. There's too much TV, and I don't really watch a lot of it. Like, the other one that I was interested in was Little America. I watched the first episode of Little America, and it made me cry. I would imagine that all of the rest of them are as good, and I think they're honestly important stories to tell. I tend to like absurdist comedy or things that are definitely going to make me feel good, I guess. Oh, bummer. David says he watched Amazing Stories and he was disappointed by each one. That's too bad. Frank says it was a mixed bag. Hey, kind of like TV. Excuse me. Bill says Apple has the challenge of trying to be a boutique streaming service. Everyone is used to thousands of titles on any service they subscribe to. I'm trying to think of another one that started from scratch, because most of them are cable channels that have already had years and years of content, or like Disney Plus, of course, has the whole Disney Vault plus all their TV stuff that they had on the Disney Channel, most of which isn't even available on the streaming service. And then, of course, there is still the new stuff that they're making. I'm trying to think of one that said, right. I mean, but that's why they started with a year free, right? And then extended that by another 3 months, because they started with like 7 shows and went from there. Yeah, I shouldn't have said anything about Star Trek, Brian. Right? Oh my goodness. Charles has an excellent question, which I remember talking about last year. Where is the threshold for what is enough as far as new shows are concerned? Does it have to be Netflix level or HBO level? See, here's the thing. Eventually, Apple's going to get there, unless they quit. But it's hard to imagine them quitting because they made too big a deal about it. Plus, they're investing too much. Not too much, because it's Apple. They can afford it. But I mean, eventually it's going to be that. I was stunned to hear that they've had 47 shows in the first year. And then they announced 4 more this week. I mean, you can't get your head around everything Apple is doing. You can't. It's crazy to think about. I think about all the shows that I could do, all the not that I could do, but all the shows that could be done around Apple stuff. You could do just the Apple Car, Maps, all of that thing, right? And that could be a show. Maybe not daily, but it could be a weekly thing. You could do all the stuff that Apple is doing finance, as far as like Apple Pay and the financing plans that they do for the phones and all that stuff. Maybe not daily, but weekly. You could do Apple TV Plus as a show. I know there's at least one out there that I've seen. I haven't listened to it yet, but I've heard about it. And you could do that from the here's what's on right now, and here's the production news as well. And then combine that with all the streaming stuff. You can't get your head around everything Apple is doing now. I won't say I miss the old days, because I mean, I used to be able to knock. Leo Laporte said to me when in 2011, he said, well, there's not actually enough news to do a daily show, which I did tell him, I disagreed. I think I was about that respectful. Anyway, yeah. I don't know what the proper level is, Charles. I think a year from now, 2 years from now, it's not going to matter, because there are going to be hundreds of shows, and it'll be like everything else where there's far too much to watch, but there's enough there that you'll, go ahead and go for it. Not you, but whomever. Years ago, someone said that Apple would become an entertainment company. Who said that, Frank? Was it you? Hmm. Adam says that he thinks Apple One bundle will help with retention some. Yeah, that's kind of an interesting thing, right? When you're only paying, I mean, not when you're only paying, but when you're paying 10 bucks a month or 20 bucks a month or 30 bucks a month for all of this stuff, you kind of don't think about the fact that, well, it's this much for this much for that, this much for the other. It's I'm paying 30 bucks a month, but honestly, I'm paying the 30 bucks a month because um the 2 terabytes of storage and the Apple Music. I can't remember if they did that or if they came close to it, but I knew I was going to get Apple TV Plus anyway. That takes me up to 25. At that point, I might as well spend the 5 more dollars and then get, the Apple News Plus and the Fitness Plus and all that stuff that comes in as well. Sorry, I'm continuing to read on. Moving on to the parts about AMC and HBO, Bill says that AMC assumes that their business should survive, likely more or less like it is now. I'm not sure that's how it works. Charles says when movies cost $5 million each, Netflix, you can pump out 50 a year. When you're of $100 million plus, it's a much smaller number. Talking about the number of movies that Warner Brothers does or does not produce. Honestly, Charles, and this, I would love to see cinema go back to smaller films. Um, Big names and big directors, but doing smaller movies. It's probably never going to happen. Killers of the Flower Moon, and I know that's probably the wrong name, or Killers of the August Moon. I can't remember the name of it, but the one that Scorsese is doing for Apple. $200 million for that movie. $200 million for that movie, which seems obscene, but part of it is Leonardo DiCaprio, part of it is Robert De Niro, part of it is Martin Scorsese, who made Mean Streets for probably less than 5, probably less than 3, right? Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. That's an amazing movie that didn't cost $10 million, I'll bet. And granted, adjusting for time and inflation and all that, I would love to see a smaller cinema sort of reemerge from this. Then again, those tend to be depressing movies, and I want capes, I want explosions, I want spaceships. If I can get all 3 of those in one shot, you've got a Marvel movie, basically. Bill says in 2020 the top movies were almost all in January. Well, that makes sense because even a bad movie in January would make more than Tenet did, right? Oh, I take it back. Bill says that Tenet actually made some serious money, but that's about it for the rest of the year. There we go. Oh, yeah, Charles. AMC is offering private showings for up to 20 people for $150 and up with a growing selection of available films. Popcorn not included. Okay. See, here's the thing. I actually briefly considered, because the one that I had heard was $99. And I honestly briefly considered trying to get friends in the surrounding area together to do that. And I'm still too afraid because I don't know what the concessionist has been into. And I don't know, do they have to stop at a gas station on the way or, any number of things. It's now to a point where even if you can be sure that the thing you're going to is perfectly safe, what if they got in an accident on the way there? You know, I love the idea. I wish that would carry over to after the pandemic, though, because I would easily pay $99 to rent a theater and show a movie just for my friends. Well, I would easily say, hey, you guys, why don't we chip in and get a theater? Because, man, if you go with 5 friends to see a movie, you're spending more than $99 anyway. So you go with 20 friends and spend less. Whatever. Frank says AMC has always been a joke. They used to be great. I can't really speak to it now. Oh, old movie palaces. You speak to my heart, Frank. Wow. Wow. The local cinema and draft house does, the renting a theater thing there, but it's $399. Yeah, but it does include unlimited popcorn and soda. Do you get to take all of that home with you, though? Because man, $3.99, yikes. Bill likes the recliners at the theaters. Yeah, I fell asleep in a movie once. It was an expensive nap. Chairs were a little too comfortable, I suppose. Vern asks if HBO Max is different than HBO. Pass. I don't know, honestly. Donna says HBO Max has original programming as well as everything that's in the original HBO app. So there you go. Hmm. Well, interesting, Webb. Webb says, not being political, in 2012, AMC was purchased by the Wanda Group, a Chinese based corporation, and paid a boatload for the theater chain. And now they're looking for a return on their investment. Yeah. Honestly, though, if it had stayed in the hands that it was in, I can't imagine it would have been much better for them. Redneck Tech 70 would like to see Apple get more involved with the true surround with their HomePod or speaker systems. You think give it time? The fact that they're doing that, I can't remember what it's called. The spatial audio thing, is it spatial audio thing? Where if I'm looking at my computer and I turn that way, suddenly it sounds like that makes me think they're playing with it. I'm kind of curious. Brian says the last movie he saw. See, Andrew, you say me too. Oh, the Marvel movies. I think. Brian says the last movie he saw in the theater was in January. It was 1917. He loved it. I'm sad. The last movie I saw in the theater was The Rise of Skywalker. Man, I really wish I had seen. I really wish the last movie I had seen in a theater was not that. Oh well. Right. Okay. I have now reached the end of the scroll there. So I'm going to go turn what we just did into an audio podcast. Not this part, but you know that I tell you that every day, or every day, every Monday through Friday. Anyway, thank you guys and gals. This is the best part of my day. This part. Everybody else gets the audio podcast, and that's great, and I hope they enjoy it. This part is the best part of my day. All right, I'm gonna go. I'll talk to you guys. Have a great weekend. Stay safe, and go watch the Mariah Carey Christmas thing. I think I'm gonna at least watch the first 5 minutes tonight. We'll see what happens. Take care.